even know where to begin, because first, we've got Taylor Swift on this hand calling a guy a bitch, and Ryan Reynolds on this hand just going full throttle all the way. Oh, what a tangled web we weave, indeed. Okay, guys, welcome back to Justice for All. I am Aaron Justice, and of course, I'm sure you have seen, or at least heard, Taylor Swift, Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and our friend Deadpool himself, Ryan Reynolds, are back in the headlines, and not for good reason. It seems that things have come to a head because the text messages between all of them are beginning to become unsealed and unravel in the court in New York, where this fiasco is unfurling. And let's just say, it's not pretty. Now, I haven't done a lot of personal investigation and coverage psychologically on this because when all of this first happened, literally 1 year ago, I wasn't really doing content around that point, and I lost interest in this once Blake Lively had her comeback when she was supposed to bring the smoking gun, and instead threw down a nothing burger. And everybody just had a collective letdown and said, what is this? What are you doing? What do you have? What are you even talking about here? You haven't provided anything, any receipts to back up your claims. At that point, what had been abundantly clear to so many leading up to that point, that was the nail in the coffin that said, okay, this woman is lying, to put it nicely. And it's been like that ever since, and all the rest of this has just been he said, she said, and little court this and little court that, and stuff that other YouTubers and people have something to talk about and to go through, and I don't mean any hate or shade there, it's all interesting in a way. But it does become tedious, of course, over time. And I said I would perhaps hop back into it once something came out that represented a shift or some kind of tonal change, or a verdict. If it got tossed out, whatever. Because there are interesting psychological aspects to this, sociological aspects to this, and of course, spiritual aspects to this as well. And what it means for Hollywood and this world of storytelling that we all are involved in to one degree or another. And so, let's take a look at some things. Not going to go into all the little details of the back and forth in this video. You've probably already seen that. Instead, I want to focus on a couple of things that people aren't really talking about right now. Though these things have been brought up in the past, it's not being talked about, at least from what I've seen, which admittedly is not much. This has only been 24 hours or so. But people aren't talking about some of the questions that came up for me. And if they are, I haven't seen it, by all means, send it to me. Drop it in the comments. So let's just get the obvious out of the way first. Taylor Swift started distancing herself from Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds in this case, and she was absolutely right to. I mean, the court of public opinion is it's pretty firm in one direction, unless Team Lively were to present something, but that seems unlikely at this point because she certainly would, or should have, by now, you would think, with all of the press that has come her way and the lack of people in Hollywood knocking on her door to star in the next big screen adventure. So, Taylor Swift starts backing away. Then she starts putting out that she doesn't want to be a part of this. She doesn't want to be subpoenaed into court. She wants nothing to do with any of this. Well, of course, she's Taylor Swift. She's a conglomerate in and of herself. She's one of the billion-dollar baby. She's one of the biggest touring Pop-Tarts in the world, right? And her team, her PR people, and of course her daddy, certainly make sure that she tries to keep that image squeaky clean for the Swifties and all of the rest of the world. Well, they're going to have a little bit of trouble with this one, because not only does she call Justin a bitch in December, but in that same text exchange, it also proves that she knew about the then forthcoming New York Times article that was going to be soon published. That was the beginning of December, I believe. And, of course, the New York Times article was published famously just before Christmas in 2024. Now, this is of note and a serious concern for her team and her camp, her image, because at that time, when she came forward about this case, she said that she was completely innocent, had nothing to do with any of this. She was just going over to Taylor Swift's apartment that night and just showed up, and this director is still there, and they just kind of talked and chatted, and that was that. Well, the text messages, of course, prove otherwise. Not only was Taylor sent the scene and asked to read it, she was also specifically asked by Lively to come in and put on this charade and be on her side and pump up this scene that at first she claimed to have written. But then, of course, it later came out that it was Ryan who wrote it. It wasn't even her that she's pushing for. But regardless, she replies, I'll do anything for you, right? She's that great friend. She's the dragon. So she comes in and she kills it. Superstar performance. So much so that Blake sends her just this wildly glazing text message back, calls her the best friend ever, yada yada. Point being, the deception was there. That's what this video is about. It's about deception. Deceiving people. Your intentions behind it. And what's happening here, it's going on a micro level, an interpersonal level, and a macro level with all of us. And we're going to take a look at a few of the reasons why. Here, she blatantly lied to the press, her fans, the world. Said that she didn't have anything to do with this. Then it comes out, not only were you lying, you did have something to do with it, but you knew pretty much the entire time. You were her shoulder to cry on throughout this whole thing, and on repeated instances, you spoke with her about what was going on here. You knew all about it, and you participated in the deception of this man and the ultimate takedown of this man, which would, of course, result in an attempt to ruin his entire life. And that certainly wasn't the end of it. She would go on to be Blake's sister, her soul sister, her shoulder to cry on, her main person, her main girl in her corner through all of this. So God only knows what was said through text or through whispers, late night phone calls, over dinner, New York. God only knows. But we do know that all of this was thought of, planned, executed from the very beginning. She's calling them doofuses and clowns before they even really get started filming. And we're going to touch on later about the timeline of filming and texts that go to Justin and texts that go to other people. It's very interesting. You want to see that in a different video. But it continues all the way up until the beginning of December, when Taylor writes about calling him a bitch and bringing out his tiny violin, which is curious because, as others have pointed out, she made the big splash about Kanye calling her a bitch in that song. And then Kim Kardashian drug her because Kanye later provided the video where he did actually call her and ask her and talk to her about this. So, double standard there. But it's not the only double standard, because Swifties, the fans, are aptly upset. Because one of the great things about Taylor Swift is that she is a top Billboard pop artist who went through a very public struggle with her catalog and that whole Scooter Braun mess, and really being a female pioneer of retaining your artistic merit and vision in an industry that, well, let's just say, is not up to par in the morality department always. That was a beautiful thing. And a lot of people, especially her fans, admired her for that. And so people were rightly hurt seeing that this woman, now being top tier in the whole Hollywood celebrity bubble, is now bullying this lower tier guy who went out of his way to procure the rights for this, read the novel countless times, and worked tirelessly for years to bring this to vision, to bring his passion, his love. And it's a vision that is a supporter of women in one of the most important ways. And now, one of the world's leading female symbols is in a text message to another female calling a man a bitch. And it's not just, I just call him a bitch. Just call him a bitch because he publicly came out about an essay episode that he was a victim of earlier in his life. Now, of course, we don't know for sure if that's true, But does it matter? In terms of the public knowledge and what was going on at the time, she didn't know if it was true or not. She's just going from what Blake and Ryan are saying. She has no idea. And that's what we're going to touch on in these next couple of little micro videos we're doing, because it's important and it gets to the heart of the one major question that I have, which I'll sum up at the end. And so we're going to get into the lens of deception and what did these players know at what time, because all of this is one big deception and manipulation of you, ultimately. And here, yeah, we want justice for Justin, if that is, in fact, what is true here. But we want justice for all. And it goes both ways. See you in the next one.